Air way too early for the fake. This that real game for real bros. No decaf, no cap. Welcome to Shogun Bros, no decaf. Live every weekday, 6:30 in the morning, Central Time. Did you hear what I said? Central Time. We talk dogs, bloodline building to yard work, from stud talk to the truth behind the pups. This ain't no highlight reel. It's how you really build legacy. Shogun Bros, no decaf. Pull up, pull up, handle yours. This ain't just content. It's culture. Welcome to the Cookout with Toyo, where family vibes meet front porch truth. No scripts, no filters, just heart, heat, and hot plates. Ooh. Step up with elevated perspective, with elevated game for grown men and women building mind, spirit, and vision. And men at work with Pimps Over Simps. Church, real convos, no cap, all purpose for the men behind the mission. 3 shows, 1 network, all gas, no decaf. Put no creamer in my man. Look, Shogun Unlimited, man. Press play and get man. Come on, press play, press play.
Hey.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I like intro. I do. I like that. I like that little commercial thing.
What's
I done dropped a goddamn syringe into the pH down bottle. This motherfucker full of pH down. And it's the big ass pH bottle too, elevated.
Damn.
Damn,
I've done that before.
Man.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Shit.
I usually keep at like I got 2 bottles of pretty much everything I got. And if something like that happens, I'll just pour it in, and then get the syringe out last.
Yeah, that
I usually have like a full bottle and an almost empty bottle of everything I got.
Yeah. So what's on the table today, man?
I was just gonna cook up more on the like she carries your yard idea. I've been just watching all these instead of jumping in and running my mouth. I've just been watching and listening.
Right.
I love all these shows. This has definitely made like the mornings more full. For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
But,
yeah.
It definitely have. It's giving us content to where I ain't bored all the time. I got something to watch all morning.
Yeah. Well, it's it's for that morning drive, man. We kind of had it in mind. It was for that morning drive for people on their way to work, and for the boys getting up, working their bulldogs in the morning, going through their process. It's always good to be listening to some bulldog while you bulldog, bulldog talk while you bulldog. But it's got that in mind, and then at the same time with the topics that we talk about and the questions that's asked, it's you can pull your pen and pad out and actually walk away with something. So when you come, it's like we don't want you to leave. You know what I'm saying? So we can keep it going, man. Because I'm sitting there, asking questions, learning, because I got some future decisions to make myself, and I know what I know, but I'm trying to know what you know. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. One time I said it don't matter. I watch everybody. I ain't gonna lie. I watch pretty much everybody. Even if I can't take something from every word they say, and I might not disagree or might not agree with everything they say, but I still watch for the most part because sometimes I learn something from them type of people.
Yeah, because the whole purpose is to be able to see things through other dog fanciers, dog men, dog owners, dog breeders' eyes, man. That's what it's for because you know, an elevator's perspective might not be somebody else's perspective, but you get to see it from elevator's eyes. You get to step on elevator's yard, you know. So that's definitely a dope thing, man. Just to be getting everybody's perspective. A lot of people's perspective lines up, you know. A lot of it's opinion based, a lot of it's facts, you know, based off experience, you know. And I don't have all the experience. I'm not gonna play like I do, you know. Uh, and you know it's real when you start seeing, older, the OGs or whatever come in, you know, drop their little science on their experience and all. You can get a little something from it, for real. So I know it's a lot of people that you know, like I say, man, it's people that are scared to ask certain questions, man. It's people that are already in their own program and have questions, and some of these conversations might give them that cue to either go ahead and push forward or change the direction that they're going in, man. So I hope it really it reaches out to a couple of people that that it's beneficial for, and me included. Shit,
That's right.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
They just
That's
need to look.
why
Once they build
I
up that
like this.
courage, they'll be all right.
Hmm?
Once they build up the courage to ask some questions, they'll be all right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cause
yeah,
we had the elders on here, you know. Ain't no
yeah,
telling who will be on here and who can answer a question for you.
Yep.
yeah. Know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
We got a couple guests coming up here not too long that will definitely
Hey,
be able to
yeah.
answer some
Hey,
people's questions.
hey, Heavy James, me too, man. Like, I always approach every situation, even with the knowledge that I know, with my cup half empty. Because it's always something to gain, man.
Well, that's what I was
For
about to
real.
say too. Is like you may have not produced a bunch of litters, but you definitely got some knowledge, Big A. So
Oh,
I salute you on
I
that.
know what. Yeah, I know what I know, but I like, you know what I'm saying. As far as the whole spectrum, man, it's a grain of grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? Uh, for real, But I can tell you one thing. I've learned more from the dogs themselves than I have from anything else.
That make a lot of sense.
Hmm.
That make a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah. I could second that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're always going to tell you the truth, and like they don't really care if it hurts your feelings or not. Neither you're going to find out the truth if
yeah.
you're doing the right things with them.
Yeah, what's happening?
What up,
Dicky,
Judge?
what's going down? JT, JT in the place to be, man. I know you put in them 12-hour shifts, man. Yes, sir. Croc, you know what it is, man. Yeah, Lone Wolf, you still kicking it with the kids, man.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Yep. There's always
yeah.
good brothers in the chat for real.
Oh yeah,
Always,
oh yeah,
all these shows,
yeah,
and
yeah. So
I've been in these like chats and comments for like a good while now, and a lot of these names ain't no just pop up and disappear. A lot of these
yeah,
names have
so
been in the chats for years now.
yeah, so we were talking about uh your female or whatnot,
Yep,
how she got to carry the yard. So for
yep.
you, what is your female on your yard that you know um is the one that you would say took your yard to the next level?
The most prominent female that I have that I've used is Medusa. Uh,
Okay.
I had Carson too, and she's
Hmm.
blended in there a little bit, but I inbred on the Mason and Medusa stuff specifically. Uh, for the traits that them dogs had, like they were the more athletic, aggressive, like just high strung type of bulldogs versus my mom's were kind of big and laid back. And I mean, they were still athletic, but they were just the blocky type. And
Right.
it's more bulldoggy acting. Like even some of these out of like Mason's the same way. He digs around and chills. And like most of my yard is based on Mason, like heavily. But at the same time, I got to give Medusa credit, because if it wasn't for Medusa, half of these Mason dogs, like including the inbred sons off of Mason and the line breeding, wouldn't even exist. So like Medusa did carry me into the future. And when I started, I didn't know if she would or not. I always hoped, but I didn't know for sure. Like there's variables that are out of your hands that can determine whether or not that's the future.
Like what?
Like so when it flooded 3-4 years ago, I had a bunch of parvo hit after the flood. About a week and a half after the flood, dogs started coming down with parvo. And I didn't think about that beforehand. I didn't think about the flood water like trapping parvo down to my yard. I wasn't that like old and having a big yard of dogs. Rick, shut up. This little puppy raises hell. He wants out of the high box for sure.
Right.
I just been quarantining him. But like, as far as these dogs, like I can see Medusa in all of them. Even like Judge here, he's most like Mason, but like if it wasn't for Medusa, he wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So like, she really did carry my yard further in the future than I ever thought she would have. And sometimes for people, it's like that. You know what I mean? You got lucky a couple times and it lined up. I mean,
so
a lot of this is luck.
Okay, so but you're a science. You more on the science side. You like to get into the science or whatnot.
Yeah.
And there is no luck in science.
No, not really. I mean, that's why I call it an artistic science, because there is some luck in art too. I mean, I've created pieces that, like, when I first started it, I've almost wanted to scrap it, and then I didn't, and I just kept working on it, and I made it something that I was proud of. Like, I've done that multiple times. So, like, if I sat down to draw something, sometimes I can't come up with something, but then I'll be fooling around and come up with gold. I don't understand it.
Right.
That's why sometimes I say it's luck.
So, when...
But as far as science, we'll go into that a little bit. So, like, Medusa threw her vigor into these dogs hardcore because I was crossing a heavily bred line. She's a heavy bred dog. So, like, even the first breeding, I didn't get really nothing like Mason too much. Rogue's the closest I got, right? Dark brindle, female. She's the closest I got. So,
right.
As far as, like, it took me a couple steps to even see Mason in them. You know what I mean? That's how prominent she was. Herself. That's how prepotent she was. She threw herself so hard it took me 2 generations to even see a little touch of Mason. And I got Levi and Judge.
So
and then when Daniel done the line breeding, it got more Medusa than it did Mason. So
okay, so you saying her genes were pretty dominant?
Yeah, she's triple bred on my Thor dog, and Thor and Dixie had like factors of termite.
And how long and how many generations did you say it took for you to see Mason?
I bred Mason to Medusa. I didn't see none of him really. You know what I mean? They were just some of them had the structure like Jarvis, but for the most part they were like Medusa, color, spectrum, and everything. Then I bred him to Rogue, which is the daughter off of that, and I got Judge and Levi. So 2 generations before I even seen Mason, and I had to inbreed on him to see it. Which was a wild topic. Like I don't know if I would have ever seen Mason if I didn't inbreed on it like I did.
Okay, and Mason is your stud, correct?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So when you bred can you name a time where you bred Mason and Mason's gene was dominant?
Mason and Sissy.
Okay. And how many generations did it take for you to see Sissy?
I haven't yet because I haven't bred them yet, but I don't think I'm gonna see it as much because of the cross that it is. The way genetics work, she's a staff, and they did cross to cross to cross, so automatically Mason's tighter than her. So that I think that's why I seen him more than her. And now like Bella, she was off on an inbreeding, the one that Mason bred to, got loose and bred to,
Hmm.
in the kennel, and
Hmm.
I seen her a little bit more. So maybe if I took like say Haywood back to Sissy, I might would see a lot more Sissy. But the way I'm gonna end up having to do it, I don't think I'm gonna see much Sissy because I'm gonna breed. I'm
So,
gonna either breed Jarvis or Brick's daddy to Sissy, and then
so,
I'm gonna line them up with the Mason and Sissy stuff.
so Sissy's gene, it doesn't, it, she's not passing on her genetic structure like to the next.
The
She's not
bone
strong on that.
structure, that's it. No color wise. All of them are
So,
brindle or black or you know what I mean. All dogs I've seen out of Mason, not her. I know what
so
her
what,
ancestors look like.
so what are her qualities that made you want to breed her?
The structure factor, I knew she was going to throw into it. A little bit of the like barnstorming determination.
Hmm.
Uh, Let me think here. I mean, I can keep naming stuff like
But you
I
said
knew
you
I
said,
knew where she come from the long run. So like I had seen
uh,
a couple of generations of them, and like I
uh,
seen their bone structure and their attitude, and they still
yeah,
possess the traits that a pit bull terrier has. You know, like dog aggression. Even though they're bullies, they're still dog aggressive and all that stuff. Come here. So like
yeah.
I was like, yeah, I like her. You know,
Hmm.
and I mean we haven't ran none of them next to hogs yet. I got
Right.
into that a little bit after. They're already, I think they're I think they're 3.5 now. So I got into that a little, like getting the hog pen set up and all that stuff a little late. Yeah, you're a good boy, ain't you, Judge? Vixen,
And
come on.
you're mating her to Mason, right?
Yeah, yeah. I bred Mason to Sissy. Who, her?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Vixen
No,
right
who
there?
you
Oh,
just
okay.
no, no.
Yeah, Sissy.
Okay.
Yeah, you're a good boy, dude. But yeah, I mean, like, there's a couple different reasons I've done a couple different things. Like, that's why I was playing with it. I want to know the difference. You know what I mean? Firsthand with my dogs instead of being like, well, they wouldn't do that. You know, if you bred that to that, a lot of people be like, well, you can't do that. It wouldn't do that. Like, no, I can tell you, like Mason to that type of stuff that Sissy is, you can't find that everywhere. You know what I mean? So like Mason to the type of stuff Sissy is really clicked, and it clicked 2 times. It didn't just do it once. You know what I mean? I bred them twice, and I got 2 pups the first time and 8 pups the second time.
Hmm.
See, I've only bred Mason to Medusa once. I took his offspring off of that and knew I was going to do a step further. You know what I mean? To see what I got. Yeah, you're the boy. Like, this is an inbred son of Mason. That's the daddy to the pups off of her.
Right.
So this is Medusa stuff. All this.
You got your finger over the
I was moving the
uh
bucket. Yeah. Look, she big as a house though. She's huge.
yeah.
I used all my lime yesterday. I thought I had a bag left, but I didn't. I don't have one in the build. I gotta go get lime and dog food. But yeah, like both of the like she is Mason to, or he is Mason to Rogue, and Rogue is her sister. So,
So
and I bred him back to her.
yeah.
So that's heavy Medusa. Like that, me taking him back to her was adding a little more Medusa back into it, you know, versus
So
me just doing the inbreeding on Mason.
but everything that you bred hasn't worked, right?
No, so Mason DeBella I didn't like.
Okay,
That's the only
what was
breeding
that?
I've done that I
So,
was not
so
happy with.
okay, tell me about that.
So she was a staff similar to Sissy, but like more generations down, you know what I mean, of people breeding them. And
Mhm.
when I bred him to her, I just didn't like the outcome. A couple of them had health issues, like that I've
Okay.
not seen out of any of these other dogs. So
What
I
were
was
the health
like,
issues?
uh, so two of them had seizures after a year and a half old, and
Hmm.
then one of them had them repetitively until we put him to sleep, and then the other one he just had one and has never had one again. He had one at like
Hmm.
10 months old and has never had one again. So like,
How
and
many?
then the rest of them
Out
are
of how many?
fine.
Okay.
Out of
And,
eight,
and when you
7 or
said
8.
the rest, and you said the rest of them were fine, how did they turn out?
I mean, they're with pet homes. Like, there's a lady in town that has one. Her name is Motley. Uh,
Hmm.
she's actually beautiful, and she's never had a health issue. They said, never.
Hmm.
Uh, she's been good. She's around that lady's kid, a bunch of stuff like that. And then
Hmm.
my brother has one. His name's Nitro, and he's been good. And then my buddy Chad has one. His name's Bourbon, and he's been really good. So I mean, there's two bourbons off of Mason stuff. That's one thing. If you sell dogs to different people and you produce enough, they'll name two dogs the same thing. So
Hmm.
don't let people get confused. There's a bourbon off of the Mason Medusa stuff, and then there's a bourbon off of Mason and Bella. And it's crazy because they were born 9 hours apart.
Right.
They were born 9 hours apart, like and they had a wall dividing them. And then somebody ended up they named two of them bourbon and one out of each litter, and then they named one Rocky out one out of each litter too.
So
And those are
you
all
said
those are all dogs with pet homes.
and you said okay, pet homes. So
Mm-hmm.
you said that you wouldn't repeat that breeding, right?
Mason and Bella, no, I have no option of it. Even if I
So
wanted
what?
to, I don't own nothing off of that. And
Mhm.
Nitro's fixed. I
Okay.
could breed bourbon, I guess, if I wanted to. I could breed the bourbon. My buddy Chad's dog. So
Right. So would you take? Would you? So if they had, if let's say they could make, I mean, if you didn't have them fixed and they wanted to take one of those pups that you said that from that breed and back, would you take it?
uh it really depended. I would be very strict on it, and it would be like Mason, like more like along the lines of Mason as far as a breeding career. Wait until it's way older, that way I can know what it genetically, like it itself carries and does. I mean, you could if I did. That goes back into where we were talking about the DNA testing and stuff. I might would do that with that dog. You know what I mean? If I felt like that individual was worth taking you know, really. But that would be the only way I would take it back is if I tested it for a bunch of stuff. Like get its
And so
heart tested, its legs, its lungs, all that stuff.
and you would say that Bella was the bad batch out of the parent.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It was the worst breeding I've done out of all the breedings I've done. For sure, so far. And I mean, I wasn't going to breed some of it. I think I wasn't going to breed him to her. I was going to breed his brother to her. So like, and I had a feeling for some reason why I would have done that. I mean, I maybe could have bred his brother to her and never seen an issue possible. But maybe
Mhm.
this is something that's not really talked about. I wonder if two dogs can have genetics, right? To carry something, but they would have never thrown it with another individual. You know what I mean? They can maybe even lose the fact that they're a carrier through breeding,
Mhm.
but then you breed them two together and you get that problem. I don't understand it. I don't know. Some of that's like where it makes me want to. It made me want to take like Nitro and the bourbon and just get them tested and see what the deal is.
Yeah, and then make you want to go to college and goddamn it, figure this shit out your damn self, don't
But so one thing is all the top breeders I've ever talked to told me if I went to health testing all these dogs, I'd never breed a dog ever. They said you'll rarely find them that fit every criteria. I don't know how true that is, but that's what vets
So,
have told me.
so Mason is where it all started for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the how did you choose your foundation, bitch?
So she ended up she ended up for sale, and I was like, huh, you know what I mean? I want to buy that bitch. So I
Mhm.
bought her at like 4.5 months old, and I mean, just through time and knowing what it was off of, I took the risk. You know what I mean? I took the risk, and I'm seeing the reward of that now. You know, like
But
just
I'm saying, visually, how did you choose it? How did you pick her? Like, how did how'd you go about the process of saying,
so.
I'm gonna try my hand with her?
Okay, so I had bred a couple females, right?
Hmm.
And which one of them was Carson. Another one was Vanish. So I bred them two bitches, right? And then for some reason Medusa was on like out of heat. She had quit, or like she had almost quit bleeding and everything. And I was just like, I'm gonna throw Mason in there with her. You know, I doubt he'll ever lock up with her. Like he can't. I mean, her
Lock up
running
with
around,
who?
her being young, Medusa. I just put him
Okay.
in the kennel with her. It's the only time I've ever done that. I just put him in the kennel with her, and he locked up to her. I didn't think he
Hmm.
would, because she's so much littler than him, like height wise and stuff. I didn't
Yeah.
think he'd ever get it actually locked up, but he did. And I turned around and was like, "Holy!" I still got the video. It's kind of funny. I was like, "Holy shit!" I can't believe he actually did it. And they were turned
Yeah.
around and everything. Looked like I bred them in the kennel, but no, they had bred right there in the kennel, and she ended up having pups. That's what I'm saying. Like she was, I wasn't even really gonna breed her at that heat. I just was putting him in there to kind of see how she acted,
Hmm.
and because that's how my dad bred them dogs. So like Mason and Medusa, I can do that. I can put them in a kennel together, and they will breed somehow. That he was around her a lot from a young age, so like there's already kind of a chemistry between them two dogs. I can't do that with any
Yeah.
other dogs with Mason, but maybe Molly. But then Molly's the mean one in that case.
Yeah.
so
The little green moon.
so like
Yeah.
that's part of what I mean. I got lucky. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't actually intending on her to even have puppies on that time. She was a year and a half old, but I was just, and she had some puppies, and I was like, man, these are great. I put them with a couple people, like my dad's buddy Lester, watched him mature for 3.5 years, and then he
Hmm.
ended up having to move to Florida, and he asked me, do you want him back? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll take him back, and I knew the individual he was. I had taken him in for like 2 and 3 months at a time over the last 3.5 years, and like fooled with him and worked him and took him to dog shows, and like I took him to the pig picking and won a ribbon when Lester still owned it, still lived here. I took him by myself with me, like so. That's what I mean. I got lucky. I kept all the females that were alive off of that litter except for one. I let her go
Hmm.
to a good buddy of mine. So I kept all the females. I knew what I was going to do. I didn't really. I knew what genetically she carried, so I just took the. That's what I mean. I took the risk and put him in there. They ended up having pups, and I saw the individuals off of them, and I was like, hell yeah, they're just like
Yeah.
my dad's stuff. And I was surprised when I did that because I had bred and seen Mason with Sissy, and then Bellas were born before Medusa's. So I delivered pups all day that morning, right? Woke up at like 2 in the night, 3 in the night or something, and Bella had one puppy. So
Right.
I had already seen Mason with Medusa and Mason with Bella. So I'm thinking like I'm gonna get a bunch of Mason stuff off of Mason and Medusa for some reason. I don't know why I thought that. But
Yeah.
then when they threw, I was like, nah, this makes sense. Like this makes 100% sense because of how she's bred. I was like this,
So,
and I was like this is wild. So like when I threw them seal colored dogs, I was so happy because like they were almost gone.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That look, that structure, that attitude, that whole thing of my dad's stuff was almost completely gone. If I wouldn't have bred Medusa the way I have, it would have been.
Yeah. So, your brother, your brother,
Yeah.
he's more visual type person. So how would he, in your perspective, how would he pick a female? So,
He
if he were to pick a foundation female.
so see that's where some of the variable comes into it, because like he owns Ember, you know what I mean, and he asked me on that litter versus where I usually like he told me Rogue was going to be a badass whenever she was young. I knew it, but like he told me that, and I was like, okay, if I think it, and I didn't even say anything to him, and then he said it himself when we were just standing there. I was like, all right, okay, so that's two of us that said that, you know what I mean, and. Some of that, like, I'll just send him pictures of two dogs, and I'm like, should I breed him to her? And he's like, yeah, that would work. And I'm like, all right, I think so too. You know what I mean? I'll almost second my own opinion with him. If he agrees, then I go ahead with it. If he don't, then I don't make it a priority.
Yeah.
Just because, like you said, he's going off a visual. He don't care about the pedigrees. He don't care. He's seen the dogs and seen what they'll do and working and all that stuff, and that's all he goes with. And then I'll tell him, well, that works because they're like this, and this, and he's like, well, see, see, I didn't even know that, and that clicked. So, I mean, like everybody wants to, you know, be super scientific with it, even me. But at the same time, like some of it, the science is out of your hands. You either got to take the risk and try it, and you know, spend the time, or that's a good topic, okay. In these dogs, you got to have the time, or you're wasting your time, literally, because some of this stuff you have to do it and sit there and wait and see if it works before you go bragging about it and stuff, like, or just even talking about it or putting them on hogs. You know, you got to see if they work. So, and a lot of these people will do a breeding, and then they'll be like, well, he sold me this piece of crap, it didn't work. I mean, that could be a lot of factors. So that's one thing I feel like the game has lost, the patience for doing it on a bigger scale. That's why we see less individual families of dogs today and all that stuff, is because people are in such a rush. Just like when it got tax time, I seen so many yard for sale, dogs for sale, hit me up, all that stuff, like right around tax time, because they knew people had money and they wanted to get that money.
Yeah. I'm real slow with it, man. I take my time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not in a rush. I know what I know what I'm getting into, broadly speaking, and I know it's a lot of work. So for me, I'm more into enjoying the dog. You know what I'm saying, and you know, getting into that, and then seeing where it leads me. I'm not going into it with the mindset, yeah, I'm a start my own bloodline. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. You know, and it's no knock to anybody with that vision. You know, because salute. You know, you've got a direction. Go forward. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you got you've done the proper research, man, and you breathing to move forward and not water it down. But for me, man, I just, you know, I want a real good dog that I can enjoy, you know, and work and you know, go through that process, and then I would like to add to it, and you know, have me a good meal, you know, and then you know, see where it leads me. I'm not, you know, and patience is like my that's my forte, man. You know, I've got patience. I can wait. You know, it's no rush, man. I see. You know, I'm
and
not.
you'll be more successful because of that.
Well, yeah, I'm not in a rush to make a mistake. You know, you got to get out there and you got to get your hands in and get, you know, the whole nine. But like, you know, nah, man, I'm not that. You know, yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to you know, and then on top of that, I'm not trying to steal fame off of somebody else's name. You know, it's just, you know, get in there, enjoy the dog, man. You know, these are good dogs. Especially if you get your hands on a good dog, man. Enjoy the dog.
Well, so there's another topic. I probably would have never even made like a Facebook or posted none of my dogs too much if my mom hadn't been telling me the world deserved to see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these are not a typical family that everybody even has, and like she it was crazy because she didn't really even she was scared of pit bulls, and then her love for them now is like nuts. Like it is like she realizes like they're the best dog ever.
Yeah, student for life. What's happening, man?
Student for life,
This
salute,
bitch,
brother.
this bitch huge. She needs a pop already. I want to see these pups.
Mm.
She
That's
big in the
crazy.
house, and she's starting to
It's
get
crazy you
miserable.
said that, elevator. That your that he said his mom was scared of him at first, and then after him dealing with her for a while, she opened up to him.
Yep. Yeah, and
That's
like
cool.
she had a bunch, and then she had like 4 or 5, and then my dad had 12, and then at one point in time, my dad moved in like because my mom kept them. We lived right near my mama, and she kept them in my mama's backyard because we got the same place my dog yard was, where the yard tour is. She kept them back there, and then my dad rented that house from my mama, and my mama moved for a little while, and had all the dogs there together.
Yeah.
So like my mom's and my dad's dogs were on the same yard there for probably a year and a half, 2 years.
And you said your mother had she had dogs and your dad had dogs, and this was before they were together.
Yeah. Oh no.
Okay.
No. My parents split up when I was 3, like 2 and a
Mhm.
half, about to be 3. My 3rd birthday, they were split up. So when they split up, they both got dogs like not long after. My stepdad decided to get one, and my dad got one, and I don't know. They just ended up getting females for some reason. I've asked a bunch of questions lately about that stuff. I'm gonna have my mom on to talk about some of it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my mom
She
on
remembers.
too, bro. She put me in there. It'll be
Yeah,
an age.
Hey,
It'll
she
be a
knows good
trip.
stuff,
hold,
and
hold
she
on.
talks
Hey,
good.
student for hold on. Uh, hey, student
Oh,
for life.
he got it.
You got. Oh, okay. Yeah, you got a bet. Yeah, okay.
He
Yeah.
muted it. But that'll be elevated. That'll be because I could get my mom on her. I could get my next door neighbors from when I lived in Memphis because they was real dog men. They had real
Yeah.
fruit. That dog in my icon. I had an old family real nose. And next door they had Frisco Gator, and she came in heating and got over that. And this was one of the end results: Frisco Gator old family real nose. And I don't know if they wanted them two particular gentlemen would want to get on here. I wouldn't try and force them to, but I can get my mom on here, and she'll tell you. She the one that put
Yep.
me in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it would be good because like my mom can tell the story. She remembers all the stuff and tells them in pretty like enough detail for the story to be good, but not too much detail to where it's like, damn, get to the point already.
Right.
She
Wayne.
good with the storytelling,
Yeah.
and like she remembers a lot of that stuff. Like, whereas my dad will tell me he don't really remember. Mom remembers all that stuff.
Mhm.
Like, it's pretty wild.
Now my dad, he was scared of them jokers, and then he had to, cause he knew I had them in Memphis. But then when I got a little older, and I became
Yeah.
like the head of the household up there, and I started bringing them G Red Boy dogs, and he had to think about it like at first he was a little, you know what I'm saying, but he had to realize that I knew what I was doing. And it was
Well,
all good. He realized they wouldn't hurt a fly.
and that's
Yeah.
kind of like both of my parents kind of acted like that about Haywood towards my daughter. But I'm like when y'all walk her in, she wants to eat y'all up because you got her and she ain't used to you messing with her. That's why he wants to eat y'all up. He ain't even paying her no attention. But then they leave and we go out there and she can throw a ball and play with him and do whatever. It's literally them that she like. My mom, he likes my mom. So, but my dad's never even touched that dog. My little brother Dylan either. There's a few of them that won't even try because they're like, I don't know, I can't explain it. Like the way he acted in front of my old house. I used to have him on a chain right next to my front door in my old house, and like people would come and he would act like it was nuts. I mean, it really was, and that was just his reaction. I don't know. I didn't train him to be that way. That's just who he was, and
Right.
I didn't stop it. Like I lived right in the middle. I lived right in the middle of town, and like there's always crackheads and all kinds of shit. So I never stopped it. Like I got sick of people walking up to my front door at like 6 and 7 in the morning, knocking on it for no reason. So
I
I
bet
just
that
put
put a
him up
stop
there.
to it.
Yeah, nobody walked in my yard again. No.
How's my audio now? Do I still got any background noise, y'all?
Sound good now.
Yeah,
All
Sound
right.
yeah,
good.
you're good.
Salute and great morning to all y'all fellas, man.
Yes,
Yep.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Hey, I saw earlier in the chat, we had asked a question where he said, good that your males get along with your females. Do you consider that luck, or was that some type of strategy? And I didn't, I might have missed the answer, but I figured I'd ask.
So as far as
Yeah.
Mason to Medusa, that's luck because of him being around her from her being such a young age. He didn't see her as a problem. Uh,
Okay,
where then like Mason and Molly, like they're kind of more like Thor and Dixie. Dixie would get riled up and shit, but shit that like they really knew that if they wanted to, Thor and Mason had weight on them. You know what I mean? So like at the same
okay,
time, where they would act like they're so vicious, they really respected Mason. And then there's females that I have had where I can't put Mason near him because he don't like them. So like
okay.
Carson, I was trying to breed him and Carson, and I had a little accident like a long time ago. So and I was like, wow, I never would have thought he'd done that, but he did, and I was like, huh. So like some of it is luck, a little bit.
Well,
They just luckily through the cycle of life they figured out, like with Medusa, I got her at such a young age. That was the only reason I think Mason really liked her.
one thing I've noticed over the years is that if you can avoid any accidents, male or female, for the first 2 years of life, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of not have them be defensive when another dog lights up on them or whatever else. Then by that time, you really kind of establish a pattern so that they let's say you do have an accident, it's not anything that quote unquote traumatizes the dog and they become defensive. You know what I'm saying? Like I use a lot of times I use my pitch in dog training lessons when I'm working with aggression cases or whatever else. And they might get bit or whatever else. And once I break that up or whatever else, you would think that every time your pit saw that dog again, they would light up. But it's like
Yep.
nothing. You know what I'm saying? What I notice about our breed is they don't get traumatized by violence like another breed would. Sometimes that'll turn
Yep.
a dog out to the point where they just aggressive all the time with any dog that looks like you know what I mean? They might be aggressive, but with our dog, they're like,
Yep.
bring it on. Total confidence and everything, man.
I
Yeah.
owned I owned my Colt dog, right? I bought him, and we had him running around his daddy. Not long after
Mhm.
that, and I mean he had been around his daddy, but he stayed at my house for about 2 weeks, and then they come over with his daddy, and they were just running around in my house, and all of a sudden his daddy just snatched him up and shook him about 4 times, and
Mhm.
it swelled his whole head up like a watermelon, and after that, you couldn't have him around males, and he was an American bully, like, but he wasn't built like one of them little like meatball ones. He was tall and athletic. He looked like a pit bull, but he had bully colors like that
I got you.
that
I got you.
lilac blue muzzle type of color. But other than that, he was
Hmm.
built like a pit bull. Like he was a beast. But I mean, you couldn't let him around nothing that was a male. Females,
Yeah.
you were fine all day long. But a male, I think that just like that triggered something in him.
Yes, sir.
It,
Yes,
I
sir.
really
It,
believe it
br-
did.
it makes them become defensive to the point where, especially if they get bit and hurt, then in their mind they're like, all right, I ain't never letting that happen again. So as soon as something get in one of my space, I'm jumping it before it jump me. You know what I'm saying? It's self-preservation to a certain extent. You know what I mean? And like I said, with our breed, they tend to have less of that instinct than any other breed. So if you time it right and train for it, then you know what I mean. You can end up with a real solid dog in those situations. You know what I mean. Traditionally, of course, that's not what you want. It's not a cold dog, but at the same time, you train that dog to ignore it.
Yep. Well, so what about this perspective, right? I've also seen this, okay? Say a dog like a bully, right? Uh, when it's young, it's ready to go on anything that moves, right? Then
Yep.
it gets about 2.5, 3 years old, 4 years old, and something really whoops up on it one good time, and it ain't about it no more. It
Yep.
breaks it
Yep.
from that. Like whereas a pit bull terrier would not break. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
well,
they,
would you consider that current? Like same thing as like a pit bull terrier current out. Like I don't want no more of this shit.
well, see, that's where so cur don't apply to them type of dog, right? In my opinion,
Hmm.
they don't apply
I agree.
because that's not a term they use in their community.
I
So
understand.
that's only a term we use. You know what I mean? And we put
Hmm.
meaning to. So I just think that's a weird. That's where kind of changing these definitions to fit a narrative. Like they don't even like a okay. For here's another example for a hound
You
dog.
right.
A hound dog ain't game. A hound dog has grit. That's what all these old men around here says. They'll tell you that
Ah,
he's got
look,
grit.
look.
He'll bite
When you
bear's
when you
face.
when you first said a hound dog ain't game, I was about to say bullshit. I done seen some tough ass red bones. You know what I'm saying? But like you
Yep.
said, the terminology is different. That's all.
Yeah, they use different terms, and the meaning has a little bit different variation too. Like bear
What's the
dogs,
difference?
they'll have grit, but they don't want them to be so game that because they'll call them gamey too sometimes. But it just depends. One that's in there and gets all cut up and won't let go of its hold and stuff when it needs to. That
Mm,
that's like too much grit. That's almost where they'll call it gamey. Whereas in like if you use gamey in our breed, it's like a good thing. You know what I mean?
I
So
I
like
totally get
that's
it.
a weird variation in the
I totally
definition.
get it because in their world, gaming equals a valuable hound lost.
Yes, exactly.
I
Whereas
feel
in
you.
they want grit but not gaminess too much. You know what I
I
mean?
got
And
you.
some of these
I got
dogs, and they want them to have enough grit to stay there, as in like baying the bear. They don't want it to tuck tail and run the other way.
There you
But
go.
it is pretty wild some of these different variations in the terms. I'm gonna have my cousin Chris come on and talk about coon hunting one time.
Man,
Man, I'm telling you, this man right here used to hunt 5-6 nights a week. I promise. I promise.
that,
So my
I didn't.
my little cousin was born, right, and
Mm,
my aunt Priscilla told him, "Don't go on that coon hunt. I'm gonna have him. Don't go on that coon hunt." Well, he drove all the way past Franklin, like an hour and a half away, and he gets a phone call. She's in the hospital, so he drove all the way back, and they had him, and they got released 3 days later. And when they left, they went coon hunting that night.
right back in
And
the woods.
my cousin Tragan was with them that night. I mean, these boys are raised even worse than I was as far as the coon hunting goes. Like it's
I
just
don't
in
know.
their DNA.
I wouldn't consider it worse though. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the metal that men was made of years ago. That we need more of that in today's times. I feel. You know what I'm saying? Like there ain't no bad thing. You need somebody that's dedicated and 100% focused into something. You know what I mean? Whether that be our
So
breed, another breed, or whatever. You know.
what I mean by worse is okay. So like I'm steady looking in all these dogs, these offspring for dogs like my dad's and mom's, you know what I mean? That's what so
Mhm.
like they're my cousins are kind of doing the same thing because the dogs that they were running with, Blaze and Spot were and Magnum and Lil Man, they were all just exceptional hound dogs, you know what I mean? You let them out
Mhm.
15, 25 minutes later, you got something treed. And you ain't running no 1,000 yards for it neither. You're running like 500-700 yards maybe. You know what I mean?
Damn.
Like, and here that's a difference. That's a big difference here because when they're counting these yardages, they don't really account for the mountain on them GPS. You know what I mean? So it may
Yeah.
say 600 yards, and sometimes you'll go 1,200. But like my cousin Chris had the Garmin, like like at that young of age, I didn't understand how high tech he had it. You know what I mean? I just thought it was what it was. But
Right.
no, he had the ones that account for the mountains and all that. Like it's a digital GPS. It was sick.
Elevation, elevation, and all
Yep.
that shit come into play. And now when you talk about these hounds, are you speaking of plot hounds or what we talking about?
Tree and Walker coonhounds.
I got you. I got you.
That's what I've
Yep.
ran the most behind. Most people up here they use walkers for like coon hunting, and they use plot
Mhm.
hounds for bear and hog hunting. They'll bay them up with. They'll bay up. See, because of where we're at, they can bay them up, them hogs, and they can shoot them even though the dogs are baying them up. Like they'll shoot them right
I
there. They're
got you.
not 15 feet from the dogs, so they're not much using catch dogs. And then some of these boys have hit me up and got a couple catch dogs to try to. And there's a couple with dogos that are trying to like implement them in there a little more.
I got you.
They
I got you.
understand the value of a game dog in that instance with hogs,
Right.
but so one rule here is you got to lay your eyes on what they got bait up before you let the catch dog loose, and they had to learn that the hard way a little bit. Some of them, they let the catch dog loose a couple times and it went on bear. So that's
Damn.
one thing. Like it's hard to distinguish when there's a bunch of bay dogs out there baying something, whether or not it's a bear or a pig, because you can't hear them over the bay dogs. There's usually 15 to 30 bay dogs. Like I say, I'm gonna have my cousin Chris come on and talk about coon hunting, and then I'm gonna have a couple buddies come on and talk about bear hunting too. Just get a little bit different like
Awesome, man.
perspective on it.
That's what we're here for, man. The classroom open, but I'm gonna holler at you fellas in a little bit. I'm just getting to a job, and just wanted to tap in, say what's up, and everybody.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all have a blessed one. I'll be watching the
Yes,
chat.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But like, so like, that's another reason that like it it showed me that I made the right move, even though it was like an educated guess when I did it. Like some of these dogs have stayed in bad situations when other dogs would have escaped. You know what I mean? On hogs, other dogs would have tucked tail and went the other way, whereas these dogs had went down because of the gameness, the unwillingness to quit despite facing death or injury. That's the definition of gameness. The unwillingness to quit despite facing death or injury. So, like, that's why I took Mason back to them dogs. I knew their gameness ability. I had seen it for many generations on hogs in yard accidents. So, it just, that kind of some of them things I seen pushed me to do the step I did. I didn't necessarily see the gold out of Medusa, like herself, but then I bred her and she produced better than she ever will be. And I mean, that ain't knocking Medusa at all, but all the offspring off of her are 10 times better than she is as an individual. And even Throwback, he'll come on here in a few days. He's had Medusa since before the flood. We were going to breed her to Commando, and then the flood happened, so we skipped it. And then we're going to breed her to Wrangler instead, her grandson, because he's of age to breed right now. We were going to breed her to Commando, and then the next time breed her to Wrangler. But instead, we're just going to breed her to Wrangler.
Quick said, "What's up, Quick?" Quick said, "Set it up, elevated. I would like to hear about some hunt.
Yeah, and
Man, that'd be dope for you. That's some content for your channel, bro.
yeah, and I mean, like, I could go on a hunt and shoot a little video of the process. You know, not put nothing bloody. I can make sure that it wouldn't get flagged on YouTube. I know all the, you know what I mean. So like, I can make sure it wouldn't be a bad thing to shoot.
Same thing about y'all. My
But
bad.
then you're gonna see a video of me climbing up this big ass hill, you know, huffing and puffing. Because that's just our terrain. I don't care how good a shape you're in. Anybody that thinks they're in great shape, come up here. We'll do some hiking. You can't train for that. No amount of working out will train you for that. That's why they do like military training here and stuff. Because if you can handle it here, it's towards South Carolina, and they do flying training too here, because of the mountains, the shape of them and stuff. It's very similar to where the wars are at and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go on bear hunts and all kinds of stuff. As soon as my dogs are confirmed, you're gonna see content of my dogs. The ones that I'm gonna be breeding, I'm gonna put them out there to hit hogs first, or the next
Yeah.
generation.
So, yeah. So this upcoming generation, the pups on the ground now.
No, I'm waiting on her to pop. Oh, you're talking about Dirty Girl and them? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna see hogs, and even I'm gonna put Judge on one. Even though I might not put him in the woods on one because I only got one Judge. You know,
Uh-huh.
especially depending on how he throws with Medusa right here. So
Yeah.
I might put him on some in the catch pen in a controlled environment just to do it. But like the Mason and Sissy stuff, I'll put them on hogs. I would put even Dirty Girl herself on hogs. Like she's a good dog.
Yeah.
All of the dogs that are up here, I believe, would hit a hog, 100%. I took the couple I thought wouldn't hit hogs, and they still did. So I believe a
Yeah.
lot of these would.
Okay. What kind of work have you done with?
I mean, like mostly. So because of dealing with the flood and all these situations that I've had, I haven't got to do anything lately besides work on, you know, like float pole, meals, stuff
Condition
like
them
that.
type deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't got. I mean, like for the last year, I had been working on my house every minute of spare time I had so that I could
Hmm.
move. And luckily, I'm really thankful that I did that because when the flood hit, I had somewhere else to go.
Yeah.
My house was nice enough. I mean, the floors wasn't down, like the linoleum and all that wasn't down yet, but I put that
And
down being here. So
and you said you lost some dogs too.
no, I didn't lose no dogs in that flood. So it flooded in September, and I had all my dogs in the garage and kennels. They were all fine, none of them got sick from nothing like that. But then it had flooded 3 years prior to that, almost dead
Yeah.
nuts on almost exactly like. So it flooded like mid-September, 3 years prior, and then it flooded September 27th. The Helene flood, and that's kind of a crazy coincidence because Creature died September 27th
Yeah.
from the parvo from the flood, and then the next flood hit on September 22nd or 27th. So, like, in that time, I was kind of rebuilding. You know what I mean? After what happened, like I got hit pretty hard. I had dogs that I was gonna keep. There was a couple off of Mason and Medusa's litter that I was going to keep, but I didn't have enough money to save them all. So I sent a couple to close people around me, and they saved them. They did what I did. Like I already had 9 dogs in my living room, so I sent a couple puppies to people to take care of them and told them if it lives, you can have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a couple things like that people don't factor in, like things that are out of your control. Sometimes you have to do things that you wouldn't necessarily do.
Yeah.
Because of, like a natural disaster. Think about some of them people that got hit in imagine dog yards in Louisiana when like Katrina hit. What did they do? You know what I mean? Like it kind of opened my eyes. Like I knew that backyard flooded. It had done it multiple times. And like the reason I didn't think about it is because it had flooded and my dad's dogs didn't get sick. I remember watching out the window while Dad went out there and was rescuing dogs from it flooding. You know what I mean? We didn't know it was going to flood. He got off work because we told him the backyard was rising. And before he got there, it was 3 feet deep. So he was out there pulling dogs off, putting them in, putting their chains in other spots, like in the front yard and stuff. And some he brought in cages. So like, but they never got sick. So I didn't never even think
That's
about
dedication.
that. Yeah,
That's real.
Yeah,
That's real life dedication, brother.
especially when he didn't know it was going to flood like that. Like Helene, I had a heads up. You know what I mean? I had all the kennels built the day before. I had all the dogs in the garage ahead of time. Like I was sleeping when the main part of the flooding happened. Then I woke up and we sat next. I opened the garage door and I sat there and chilled and watched it flood and made sure it wasn't going to come to my dogs. It was actually getting so close to my garage that I had put down a sheet in my living room or in my kitchen, and I was gonna move dogs into the living room, but it quit raining and the flooding kind of slowly went down. It wasn't rising no more. So like I was almost to the point, like, because my house sits like that area I've always shot videos where that tree is of the tug rope and the wall climb. That's in like a triangle, and both of them roads that come down past that triangle all the way up to that tree were like 3 feet deep, flooded, 4 feet deep. So like I'm so thankful that I had enough heads up, and if it wasn't for the dog community and Tiffany, because my fiance told me about it a couple days ahead of time, but I was like, no, I don't think it's supposed to hit us. And then then some of the dog community was like, nah, we're getting hit. And I was like, all right. So we made a plan. And, we luckily executed it. But then for a week, I had to take dogs in and out, feed them for a week. So that's why I moved up here so early. Like the house wasn't even done yet. My yard was piled full of like wood from inside the house, like all kinds of shit, where we tore all the inside of the house out.
Yeah. Solo, what's happening, man? Hey, we coming up on that hour mark, man.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And like I'll put together a little slideshow of like some of the individuals and like the breedings that made them and stuff, and we can kind of go over that, like how Medusa carried me into the future after that. It won't take me long to throw one together.
Yeah.
like firsthand look at the individuals. This is how she carried me more into the future. And then like I might have by then I might have the pups off of Vixen, which is 3 and 4 generations down from Medusa.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely excited for these to drop.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of
Man.
work, a lot of patience, a lot of dedication, sticking to the plan, even though I owned all these other dogs from different bloodlines. And like at one time I had 37 dogs. I only got 20 now.
Yeah.
So like I gave away a bunch of high dollar dogs and kept my own stuff just because.
Yeah, man. What you call it? Man, we about to be out this bad boy, man. It's been another elevated perspective.
Oh
You in
yeah,
here with
man.
that boy, man, Big A. You know what I'm saying? Got Supreme. The elevated in the direct, man. You know, next up we got Men at Work. It's about to go down.
Yep,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
you
in
know
there
what I'm saying?
listening to that too.
Yeah. Come tune in, man. Cause Pimps Over Simps got something for you, man. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Go ahead, make your rounds, man.
Yeah, you can hit it, bro.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, it's your boy Supreme, man. May coming up soon. Today is the 15th of April. So y'all should be in y'all second week of Key. If y'all ain't already in your third. So I see y'all in May, man. It's gonna be real spectacular, and real
Yes,
Yes,
beautiful.
sir.
sir.
You already know.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
This is Elevated Kennels. You can get me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. The Show Dog Journal is coming out really soon. I got some confirmation on that, so I'm gonna be having copies in my hand not long from now. If you want to get your dog in the next issue, hit me up on Facebook and write an article out, like a little article describing their show career or like their working career even. And because I'm gonna put a little bit of both in there. Because I want to show how they go together. But
Yeah,
write a little article and send me 3 pictures that you would like to see in the magazine, and I'll put it up how I'm going to put it in the magazine and send you a picture.
yeah,
That way you can proof
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, sir. We out.